and welcome to a bit of Christmas cheer with the first of 2 exploring sessions on the surviving Coventry Mystery plays. Recorded for the YouTube, this is another of our continuing series of crossover episodes to fill in our timeline of mid-Tudor drama, which is now coming together nicely. Plus, it's Christmas, so this episode is... well, I'll hand you over to past Robert to tell you all about that. Till next time, it's farewell from future Robert, and Merry Christmas. Hello and welcome to this, another one of our Christmas specials. Merry Christmas, everyone. I don't know when this is precisely going out, somewhere in the run-up to Christmas. Maybe quite close to Christmas Day itself. I have no idea. I have no idea when precisely this is going out, except somewhere in the next month or so. So Merry Christmas, everyone, as we are today looking at the first of 2 surviving plays from Coventry, 2 Coventry Mystery plays, the Pageant of the Shearmen and Tailors we are looking at today. This is a manuscript surviving from the 1534 I have written down in front of me. I think that is correct. I was trying to double check that earlier. And this is noted down as being translated by Robert Crighton in 1534. So it may be a snapshot. It may be slightly modernized for the then modern time of this particular play, and it may have a complex and interesting performance history, of which we have more data that may be looked at another time. In this session, we are, looking at the first of the 2 pageants that come to us. We sadly have nothing else to look at. There are also additional tiny little bits and bobs associated with these 2 plays. This play is going to be covering shepherds, kings, and Herald, and features a piece of various pieces of theatrical music, at least one of which will be probably known to the audience at home today, and we'll get to that when we get to it. Reading the text today is this wonderful team of readers. So reading today, Mary. Reading Mary is...
Hello, I'm Sarah Blake. I'm an actor, writer, and director living in Germany.
And reading Joseph today is...
Hello, I'm Dan. I'm an actor based in Montpellier, France.
Reading the first angel as well as third woman today is...
Hello, I'm Lynn. I'm a college writing teacher. I live in the northwestern United States.
Reading a second angel as well as a second soldier today is...
Me. I'm Helen Good. I'm a historian living in Yorkshire.
Reading first prophet, first king, and first soldier. Most of the firsts, though it's not always an entirely linear progression, is...
I'm Valentina, and I'm an actor and voiceover artist in London.
Reading second prophet as well as first woman is...
Liza Graham, actor, singer, and Renaissance text coach to actors in London.
Reading the prologue, Isaiah and Herald is...
I am Alan Scott, neither an actor nor an academic, based in Suffolk.
Reading Gabriel and second woman today is...
I'm Lois, retired academic living in London.
And reading first shepherd and Herald today is...
I am Steve Longstaffe, retired academic living in Lancaster in the UK.
And working our way down that list, second shepherd and second king today is...
Hello, my name's Francis Cox. I'm an actor living in Amsterdam.
And yes, this is going to be a terrible surprise to you, but reading third shepherd and third king today is...
Hey, I'm Eric, and, last but not least, that kind of thing.
And I am your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading stage directions as and when they appear and generally moving us forward in the discussion. So without further ado, we're going to dip into the Coventry play of the Company of the Shearmen and Tailors. And we're going to see what this pageant has in store for us. And the play opens with a prologue spoken by the prophet Isaiah.
Sovereign that seeth every secret, he save you and all make you perfect and strong. Give us grace with his mercy dare to meet. But now in great misery mankind is bound. the serpent hath given us so mortal a wound, that no creature is able for us for to release, till the right unction of Judah doth cease. Then shall much mirth and joy increase, and the right root in Israel sprung, that shall bring forth the grain of holiness, and out of danger he shall us bring, into that region where he is king, which above all other doth abound. And that cruel Satan he shall confound. Wherefore I come here upon this ground, to comfort every creature of birth. For I, Isaiah the prophet, has found many sweet matters, whereof we may make mirth on this same wise. For though Adam be doomed to death, with all his children, as Abel and Seth, yet ecce virgo concepiat. Lo, where a remedy shall rise, behold, a maid shall conceive a child, and get us more grace than ever man had, and her maidenhood nothing defiled. She is deputed to bear the Son, Almighty God. Lo, sovereignties, now may you be glad, for of this maiden all we may be fain. For Adam that now lies in sorrows full sad, her glorious birth shall redeem him again from bondage and thrall. Now be merry every man, for this deed briefly in Israel shall be done, and before the Father on his throne, that shall glad us all. More of this matter fain would I move, but longer time I have not here for to dwell. That Lord that is merciful, mercy so enough may prove, for to save our souls from the darkness of hell. And to his bliss he has bring, as he is, both Lord and King, and shall be everlasting, in secula seculus. Amen.
And there are no stage directions at this point, but we can infer the exit of the prologue. Isaiah, enter Gabriel to Mary, again inferred.
Hail, Mary, full of grace, Lord God is with thee. Above all women that ever was, Lady, blessed mayst thou be.
Almighty Father and King of bliss, from all discs thou save me now, for inwardly my spirit troubled is. I am amazed and know not how.
Dread thee nothing, maiden of this. From heaven above hither am I sent, of embassage from that King of bliss, unto the Lady and Virgin reverent, saluting thee here as most excellent, whose virtue above all other doth abound. Wherefore in thee grace shall be found. For thou shalt conceive upon this ground the second person of God on throne. He will be born of thee alone. Without sin thou shalt him see. Thy grace and thy goodness will never be gone, but ever to live in virginity.
I marvel sore how that may be. Man's company knew I never yet, nor never to do cast I me, while that our Lord sendeth me my wit.
The Holy Ghost in thee shall light, and shall endue thy soul so with virtue from the Father that is on high. These words, turtle, they be full true. This child that of thee shall be born is the second person in Trinity. He shall save that was forlorn, and the fiend's power destroy shall he. These words, Lady, full true they be. And further, Lady, in thine own lineage, behold Elizabeth, thy cousin clean, the which was barren and past all age. And now with child she hath been 6 months and more, as shall be seen. Wherefore discomfort thee not, Mary, for to God impossible nothing may be.
Now, and it be that Lord's will of my body to be born, and for to be his high pleasure for to fulfill, as his one handmaid, I submit me.
Now blessed be the time set that thou wast born in thy degree, for now is the knot surely knit, and God conceived in Trinity. Now farewell, Lady of might most, unto the Godhead I thee beteach.
That Lord thee guide in every cost, and lowly he lead me, and be my leech.
And here the angel departeth, and Joseph cometh in and saith,
Mary, my wife so dear, how do ye, dame, and what cheer is with you this tide?
Truly, husband, I am here our Lord's will for to abide.
What? I true that we be all shent, say woman, who hath been here sith I went to rage with thee?
Sir, here was neither man, nor man's even, but only the Son of our Lord God in heaven.
Say not so, woman, for shame let be. Yet be with child so wondrous great, ye need no more thereof to treat against all right. For sooth this child, dame, is not mine. Alas, that ever will with me nigh, I should see this sight. Tell me, woman, who is this child?
None but yours, husband so mild, and that shall be seen, I wis.
Mine? Alas, alas, why say ye so? Well away, woman, now may I go, beguiled as many another is.
Nay, truly, sir, he be not beguiled, nor yet with spot of sin I am not defiled. Trust it well, husband.
Husband in faith, and that are called, well away, Joseph, as thou art old, like a foal, now may I stand in truce, but in faith, Mary, thou art in sin, so much as I have cherished thee, dame, and all thy kin, behold my back to serve me thus. All old men, example take by me, how I am beguiled here may you see, to wed so young a child. Now farewell, Mary, I leave thee here alone. Woe worth thee, dame, and thy workest each one. For will I no more be beguiled for friend nor foe, nor now of this deed I am so dull, and of my life I am so full, no farther may I go.
Arise up, Joseph, and go home again unto Mary thy wife that is so free. To comfort her look thou be fain, for Joseph a clean maiden is she. She hath conceived without any train the second person in Trinity. Jesu shall be his name certainly, and all this world save shall he. Be not aghast.
Now, Lord, I thank thee with heart full sad, for of these things I'm so glad that all my care away is cast, wherefore to Mary I will in haste. Mary, Mary, I kneel full low, forgive me, sweet wife, here in this land. Mercy, Mary, for now I know of your good governance and how it doth stood. Though that I did this misname, mercy, Mary, while I leave, will I never, sweet wife, thee grieve in earnest nor in game.
Now that Lord in heaven, sir, he you forgive, and I do forgive you in his name forevermore.
Now truly, sweet wife, to you I say the same, but now to Bethlehem must I wend, and show myself so full of care, and I to leave you this great behind. God wot the while, dame, how should you fare?
Nay, hardily, husband. Dread ye nothing, for I will walk with you on the way. I trust in God, Almighty King, to speed right well in our journey.
I thank you, Mary, of your goodness, that you my words will not blame, and sith that to Bethlehem we shall us dress, God we go we together in God's holy name.
and there's an inferred stage direction that they make their way.
Now to Bethlehem hath we leagues 3. The day is nigh spent, it draweth towards night. Fain at your ease, dame, I would that ye should be, for you grow all wearily, yet it seemeth in my sight.
God have mercy, Joseph, my spouse so dear. All prophets hereto do bear witness that every time now draweth near that my child will be born, which is King of bliss. Unto some place, Joseph, kindly me lead, that I might rest me with grace in this tide. The light of the Father over us both spread, and the grace of my Son with us here abide.
Lo, blessed Mary, here shall ye land, chief chosen of our Lord, and cleanest in degree. And I for help to town will I wend. Is not this the best, dame? What say ye?
God have mercy, Joseph, my husband so meek, and I heartily pray you go now from me.
That shall be done in haste, Mary so sweet. The comfort of the Holy Ghost leave I with thee. Now to Bethlehem straight will I wend to get some help for Mary so free. Some help of women God may me send, that Mary, full of grace, pleased may be.
And there we'll pause. For those of you who've done some mystery plays with us before, will have got a sense of, my God, this is moving quickly, because we've sort of scootled through about 3 plays worth of material in 5 minutes or so. We've got a nice little prologue. Then we have the appearance of the conception with Mary. Then Joseph's doubt, and then we've got their journey to actually give birth, and the inferred suggestion that Joseph is off to try and find someone to assist with that. It's very absent of stage directions. There was only one real stage direction that was there, which is the leaving of the angel departing, and Joseph appearing to Mary. So I have to say the fleet of footness for me worked very nicely. Actually, it was sort of the kind of thing one hopes for from a nativity play, is that everything happens all at the same time, and we all toddle along to church, and it's all very cute. And whether this is the original version of this, how expanded. There's a lot of potential movement here of, Joseph leaving, going a distance, angel appearing to him. But it could just be Joseph just takes a step away, the angel appears to him. He says he's going to take a step back, and then he steps back to Mary. And actually, it could be designed to be this condensed. So I find that really, really interesting. Thoughts from the room. I've talked for a long time. I've thrown lots of thoughts out there. Thoughts from the room. You can disagree with me on anything I've said, because it's fine. Everybody, yes, France. Francis.
It's the first time that I've actually thought about Joseph's age, because I've always imagined that he and Mary were around about the same age. But he's portrayed here as an old or older man. So I just found that really interesting.
We've had a few instances where Joseph is very much depicted as old and for that matter comically impotent, and things. Which I'm not quite getting that far with this. This is again the sort of loving relationship that we've had before. He's not in places, though of course he's a bit narked at other places as well. He doesn't seem comic in the same way, but I don't know if that's just the way we were doing it. Alan.
Yeah, I mean, Joseph as an old man is, I think, canonical from my recollection of the authorized version. I must admit,
I don't know if the Bible goes into anything like that kind of detail.
No. I thought it did, but the other thing is that the range of this play does seem to give it almost a prototype of the standard primary school nativity play. Mm-hmm. Let's do the whole damn lot in one hit.
Yeah, in like 20 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. All the greatest hits. All the greatest hits. Lois.
Yeah, I find it hard to think of anything to say about it because it all seems so familiar. But the one thing that did strike me was Joseph saying to Mary, I've been so nice to you and all thy kin, which is interesting. I mean, you don't normally think of her relations and Joseph, being nice to them as well. It just seems to come out more of a sort of medieval setting. Of course, you would be nice to your wife and all her relatives.
Which is now begging for the story of Mary's extended family, and that awful holiday they all went on together. I mean, oh God, it was terrible. Oh no,
that's a lost play, Rob.
Absolutely. It's somewhere in the Dead Sea Scrolls. This whole extended narrative. I'm going to stop there while I can. Other thoughts in the room about the text that we're actually reading? Lynn, sorry.
I was just going to say, I don't think there's anything in the Gospels where you clearly get any sense of Joseph's age. Not sure about that, but it's a very old tradition that he was mature, if not elderly. So the other plays that we've looked at, one of them where we, it was the trial of Mary. It was definitely the case that Joseph was elderly.
Mm.
And that is what brought her fidelity into question, because the community assumed he couldn't possibly have fathered her child. So yeah, I think the tradition of him being older might not be biblical, but it's been around a long time.
Mm. And lives in so many other non-canonical bits of text all over. Other thoughts in the room before we go deep, because we're going to whiz through this narrative at breakneck pace here. This play doesn't hang around. Eric.
Well, like if you were staging this, it would be kind of, how would you do this? Would you do this with like projections in the background to sort of imply that they're traveling? So, because like obviously you're not going to change the set every single minute. So
it does seem to imply in its original staging that there are slightly separate spaces for events to perhaps be happening in, and they do journey between them.
You could do it.
Liza.
You could do it with different backcloths.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's one of these things that could actually be quite expansive, or it could be done very, very small. And I'm quite interested by the concision of it, and yet it's still paying a certain level of lip service to certain kinds of dramaturgical things. So I'm interested in that. Stephen.
I did do some pageant wagon stuff way back in the day on the streets in York, and it depends a bit on the space you're in. If you're in something like Petergate on York, then you're kind of the narrow end of the pageant is where people are going to gather, because there isn't room for them to gather at the wide end. But if you're in one of the squares, then it's completely different. So it might have been extremely fluid, and to the extent that the sort of sense of where you are is entirely created by the words rather than by any particular backdrop. Because if we're talking about this as street theatre, which I mean, there do seem to be indications that Herod and so forth, then you kind of got to give that up a little bit, I think, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else before we move forward?
I sort of picture them doing slow motion walking, like, to indicate that they're going somewhere.
Yeah, because there's no other business at all. It's interesting. There's no marking of music or anything like that there, but that could just be that it's just not there. We'll talk perhaps about music, potential music later. Let's get into the next sequence. Oh, sorry, Helen. I didn't.
No, I was just going to point out that they walk to Bethlehem. There's no 4-footed beast of burden.
That's always disappointing when we don't have an ass or a horse. Francis.
No, Alan was first.
Oh, Alan.
Yeah, I was just thinking Helen's missing the one we had in the play the other day of Joseph's ass.
No, I was there.
Yeah. Just quietly not mentioning it. Francis.
Yeah, it occurred to me when we were reading it, when Bethlehem came up, there was no mention of the census, which is why they were traveling in the first place. But perhaps the play is moving too fast to include that bit of marginalia. Yeah, it's like it is just going through the relevant beats, and the audience is expected to already know all the additional stuff. So the précis element of some of these plays sometimes of just reminding people stuff that they already know. Okay, let's get on to some shepherding, some practical shepherding here. I will not read the additional stage directions in here because they are in your script. They are all extra. So we have the entrance of a shepherd initially, and then the two other shepherds join. So first shepherd, please.
Now, God that art in Trinity, thou sawest my fellows and me. I know not where my sheep, nor they be. This night is so cold. Now is it nigh the middest of the night. These weathers are dark and dim of light, that of them can I have no sight, standing here on this wold. But now to make their hearts light, now will I full right stand upon this low. and to them cry with all my might, full well my voice they know, what ho, fellows! Whoa, whoa, whoa!
Hark, Sim, hark! I hear our brother on the low. This is his voice, right well I know. Therefore, towards him let us go, and follow his voice aright. I see Sim, see Sim, see where he doth stand. I am right glad we have him found. Brother, where hast thou been so long? And it is so cold this night.
Oh, friends, there came a pyre of wind with a mist suddenly. That forth off my ways went I, and great heaviness then made I, and was full sore affright. Then for to go wist I not whither, but travelled on this hill hither and thither, and so weary of this cold weather that near past was my might.
Brother, now we be past that fright, and it is far within the night. Full soon will spring the daylight, it draweth full near the tide. Here a while let us rest, and repast ourselves of the best, till that the sun rise in the east. Let us all here abide.
And here we do actually have an original stage direction of some reasonable length. There, the shepherds draw forth their meat. So get out your lunch and doth eat and drink. And as they drink, they find the star and say thus. And that's past number third shepherd still.
Brother, look up and behold. What thing is yonder that shineth so bright? As long as ever I have watched my fold, yet saw I never such a sight in field. Ah! Now is come the time that old fathers hath told, that in the winter's night so cold, a child of maiden born be he would, in whom all prophecies shall be fulfilled.
Truth it is, without nay. So said the prophet Isaiah. A child shall be born of a maid so bright, in winter, nigh the shortest day, or else in the middle of the night.
Loved be God, most of might, that our grace is to see that sight. Pray we to him as it is right, if that his will it be, that we may have knowledge of this signification, and why it appeareth on this fashion, and ever to him let us give laudation in earth while that we be.
And here the angels sing Gloria in excelsis Deo.
Hark! They sing above in the clouds clear. Heard I never of so merry a choir. Now, gentle brother, draw we near to hear their harmony.
Brother, mirth and solace is come us among, for by the sweetness of their song, God's Son is come, whom we have looked for long, as signifies this star we do see.
Glory, Gloria in excelsis, that was their song. How say ye, fellows? Said they not thus?
That is well said. Now, go we hence to worship that child of high magnificence, and that we may sing in his presence, et in terra pax omnibus.
And the shepherds then sing as I rode outrode this Endra's night. Of 3 jolly shepherds I saw a sight, and all about their fold a star that shone bright. They sang Trelli Trello, so merrily the shepherds their pipes can blow. And that's actually at the end of the manuscript, and is actually there as lyrics. So slightly odd, the shepherds singing about themselves in the third person, but hey, why not? So yeah, we get beautiful singing from the angels, rough, earthy human singing from the shepherds, and yeah, it's cold. It's a cold night. Just making it clear that, you know, this child is going to be born in winter, nigh the shortest day, just so that you feel like it's really appropriate for the time of year that you're watching this, perhaps, unless it's not, obviously, but just to conjure it up. But that's when Christmas should be, obviously. Yeah, thoughts in the room about the shepherds so far? Eric, then Helen.
They're not very good shepherds. I mean, they lost their flock, so they just kind of they're like, well, I can't find the sheep, so I'm just gonna rest here for a bit till I can look for them in the morning.
Yeah, it's a hard job. Being a shepherd, it's very stressful. Apparently, very stressful. You lose your sheep a lot. It happens. It's very bad. Helen.
I feel we've got far more of the shepherd's world than we have of Mary and Joseph's. You know, we know they're on a hillside. We know it's winter. We know they're cold. We know they're lost. One of them's lost. We know a lot more about them and how they're feeling than Mary and Joseph.
Yeah, Stephen.
I wonder, is this connected to the people who put the play together? Not in the sense that it's put together by shepherds, but in the sense that it's put together by a craft. So that, you know, the details of everyday life seem to be a feature of a lot of these plays. And so perhaps that sense of attention to detail is partly baked in.
And considering how relatively, you know, short this play is, so the fact that we get a sense of these characters very quickly, I just love the way they're sort of going, where is everybody? And then they're entering from afar and going, oh look, I can, where is it? I don't know where he is. Oh, there he is, and all that stuff. Liza, then Lois.
Just briefly, Shearmen would certainly have had commerce with shepherds for the wool trade, and so I quite love it. It does have a very alive feel. The shepherds do feel very human, as you said. So that, as you say, write what you know.
Lois.
Yes, I was wondering exactly what shearmen were. For some reason, I always thought shepherds sheared their own sheep. So were there actually specialists then who did that?
Stephen. Then Helen.
I think it was Helen first.
Oh, Helen, then Stephen.
All right. As I understand it, and I could be very wrong here, shearmen were in fact more closely allied to tailors than to shepherds, because what happened was that after the cloth was processed in various ways, there was quite a nap on it, and this was taken off by the shearmen to prepare it for the tailors.
Yeah.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, there's always been a question, an element of trying to figure out what the various guilds, etc., actually do, and what they, you know, the nature of their craft and the nature of their practice. That's really important to understand, which I've never really myself got to the nub of with these various plays. So that's very much a layer for the sort of second phase of research into these. And I'm sure there's many a person has written about such things in the past. Any additional thoughts on that, or just the shepherds themselves, or the singing that we've got some say? We've only got lyrics, if not necessarily music, to there. Lynn.
Yeah, one thing I really always enjoy about this genre is the sort of juxtaposition of the sacred and the profane, that you have angels and, you know, the chosen of God having a child by the Holy Spirit and all this really spiritual stuff. And then the guy's on the ground who's like, I'm cold, I'm eating my lunch. And I think that's actually really effective if you're, you know, see this play as, the word indoctrination has such a negative spin, but as, you know, religious teaching that the sacred and the profane overlap, where they intersect, or they're part of the same universe, that God is on high, but he cares about shepherds. They're all part of the created universe, and they're in this play together. So there's not a big separation between lowly everyday shepherds and the chosen of God. They live in the same world.
And talking of everyone living in the same world, what's really interesting about the stage picture here is going to become clear in a moment, is all this stuff with the shepherd singing and the angel singing is also still happening within the universe of what is happening with Joseph and Mary, as we are literally going to go into now, as we'll head to the end of this shepherd sequence. So the angels have sung, the shepherds heard it, then they sing their song, and then Joseph speaks.
Now, Lord, this noise that I do hear with this great solemnity greatly amended hath my cheer. I trust high news shortly will be.
And then the angels sing Gloria in Excelsis again. So it's a back and forth singing contest going on here.
Ah, Joseph, husband, come hither anon. My child is born that is the King of bliss.
Now welcome to me, the maker of man, with all the homage that I can. Thy sweet mother, here will I kiss.
Ah, Joseph, husband, my child waxeth cold, and we have no fire to warm him with.
That shall be done anon, Mary so mild, for the breathing of these beasts hath warmed him well, I wis. Oh.
No, you've got lines.
Now in mine arms I shall him fold. King of all kings, be filled and be frith. He might have had better, and himself would, than the breathing of these beasts to warm him with.
Now, Joseph, my husband, fetch hither my child, the maker of man and high King of bliss.
That shall be done anon, Mary so mild, for the breathing of these beasts hath warmed him well, awis.
Herdmen kind, dread ye nothing of this star that ye do see? For this same morn God's Son is born in Bethlehem of a maiden free.
Hie you hither in haste, it is his will ye shall him see, lying in a crib of poor repast, ye yet of David's line, come is he.
Hail, maid, mother, and wife so mild. As the angel said, so have we found. I have nothing to present to thy child, but my pipe. Hold, take it in thy hand, wherein much pleasure that I have found. And now to honour thy glorious birth, thou shalt have it to make thee mirth.
Now hail be thou, child, and thy dame, for in a poor lodging here art thou laid. So the angel said, and told us thy name. Hold, take thou here my hat on thy head. And now of one thing thou art well sped, for whether thou hast no cause to complain, for wind nor sun, hail, snow and rain.
Hail be thou Lord over water and lands, for thy coming all we may make mirth. Have here my mittens to put on thy hands. Other treasure I have none to present thee with.
Now, herdman kind, for your coming to my child shall I pray, as he is heaven's king, to grant you his blessing, and to his bliss that ye may wind at your last day.
And here the shepherds sing again and go forth from the place. And so they're going to sing down from heaven so high of angels they come a great company with mirth and joy and great solemnity. They sang trilly trillo, so merrily the shepherds their pipes can blow as scene change things occur. We'll just pause there for a moment. Yeah, I was slightly wrong in terms of talking about the shepherds and the angels sort of in semi-competition, because obviously that second Gloria is very much, and here's the baby Jesus. So Mary has returned from wherever she's subtly given birth. And really nice. I think it's important to point out that when the first shepherd is handing a pipe, it's not going to be containing tobacco. It's a little early for that. That might need
It's
to be
not
made.
a pipe.
Yeah. I mean, unless it's sponsored by, as a cigarette company, I don't think we're going there.
That was a Magritte line.
Yeah. Yeah, Lois.
Yeah, this bit was lovely. I mean, I don't know if there was a change of authorship or what, but it seemed to me to become absolutely charming. I mean, for one thing, it's the only version I know where Joseph actually kisses Mary. And then this bit about his taking the baby in his arms to warm it and the breath of the animals warming it. I mean, it just got a whole new tone to it.
Mm. And if we were missing animals earlier, we've got them aplenty now. So that's important. Yes, the idea, yes, it's cold, is really constantly being laid. Everybody's cold. It is not a warm night. Yeah, it's really sweet. I think that's also just something that happens with shepherds' plays. Not always, but some of them are a little distant and just, "Oh, aren't you great?" But this is generally quite sweet. I thought that all of the shepherds' little moments were also quite nice as well.
Yeah.
Other thoughts in the room?
Well,
Mm.
one thing occurs to me, the sort of play has slowed down in a sense, now that we've come to the kind of central event, the central focus of the whole thing, the birth of Jesus.
Mm.
It hasn't skimmed over the birth of Jesus in quite the same way as the other sort of milestones in this story.
Mm. Yeah, we have the angels generally singing, then the angels appear to the first and all the shepherds, while Mary and Joseph are talking. So it's that sense of being in slightly different spaces, but all in an area where you're looking. It's really nice, because some of this could all actually happen in this weird all at once way. Actually, some of this I wouldn't do it that way, and I don't think it was designed to be done that way. But you could almost do it that way, of simultaneous playing. Eric.
I'm trying to work out. Well, if it was outdoors, like Stephen said, that they did the sort of street theater kind of version, where would you put the angels if they're above their heads without like dangling them from balconies? Obviously, or any weird health and safety risk things.
Well, they didn't have health and safety risks, so they could dangle them from wherever they wanted. I don't know what the Coventry, what we know about Coventry in terms of their individual stagecraft. So, I mean, the way this is speaking to me at the moment seems to be that there's one space with various acting areas, but it could be on Pageant moving around, or it could be that this script has adapted things at a later date. I genuinely don't know. Stephen, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I was actually in a version which had an angel coming down, and we stuck him in we had a little choir boy. We stuck him in the roof of the pageant, and then sort of snuck around the back of the pageant and winched him down, which is great, assuming the winch works. Which it actually didn't, and you had this kind of rotating choir boy. Who'd long since finished his song and should have been out of sight by then.
Oh, the joys of Liza.
Well, I was just thinking, if you were doing this play in a church, I don't know whether there's documentation of mystery plays being performed in churches. I suppose churchyards are more likely, but if your playing space is a church, you have all kinds of little balconies and galleries you can use. And even outside a church, there are little galleries you can escape onto. Even if you're in an inn yard, there may well be an above space, or if someone's commissioned it and you're in the great hall of some house that's large enough to have a party in a great hall, there's usually a minstrel's gallery. So there, as Stephen very well put it, you make use of what you find. And likewise, I've only been to Coventry a couple of times, not metaphorically, literally. But yeah, I mean, it strikes me that space above is not necessarily a deal breaker.
No, and even if it's we're talking street and pageant carts, there's no particular reason why they can't be using somebody's house and just popping out the top windows. I mean, it's you just have to ask very nicely. Lois.
Yeah, I thought that some of the pageant carts were sort of two-story things, weren't they? Stephen would know, but I mean, there are things like the fall of Lucifer, things that seem to depend on somebody going down or going up.
And also just obscuring from sight, so that when the angels are all singing, you can't necessarily see them, and then when they appear to do dialogue, they're at a different level. So yeah, I think this is open for all weathers. I mean, that's the thing about medieval theatre. It's basically they did it however they wanted to, and there is no one answer necessarily, unless we have absolute documentary evidence, which we might do. I don't know. We're going to move on to the next sequence. It's Two Prophets. Let's have some quick prophets, please.
Right. Novellis, a wonderful marvellis, were high and sweet unto the hearing, as scripture tells, these strange novellas do I bring.
Now heartily, sir, I desire to know, if it would please you for to show of what manner a thing.
Were it mystical unto your hearing of the nativity of a king?
Of a king? Whence should he come?
From that region royal and mighty mention, the seed celestial and heavenly wisdom, the second person, and God's one Son, for our sake is men become. This godly sphere descended here into a virgin clear, she undefiled, by whose work obscure and frail nature is now beguiled.
Why, hath she a child?
Ah, trust it well, and nevertheless, yet is she a maid even as she was, and her son the king of Israel.
A wonderful marvel how that may be, and far doth excel all our capacity, how that the Trinity of so high regality should joined be unto our mortality.
Of his one great mercy, as ye shall see the exposition, through whose humanity all Adam's progeny redeemed shall be out of perdition, sith men did offend who should amend, but the said man and no other, for the which cause he incarnate would be, and live in misery as men's one brother.
Sir, upon the deity, I believe perfectly impossible to be there is nothing. Howbeit this work unto me is dark in the operation or working.
What more reproof is unto belief than to be doubting?
Yet doubts oft times have derivation.
That is by means of communication of truths to have a due probation, but the same doubts reasoning.
Then, to you this one thing, of what noble and high lineage is she that might this venerable prince's mother be?
Undoubted she is come of high parage, of the house of David and Solomon the sage, and one of the same line jointed to her by marriage, of whose tribe we do subscribe the child's lineage.
And why in that wise?
For it was the guise to count the parent on the man's line, and not on the feminine amongst us here in Israel.
Yet can I not espy by no wise how this child born should be without nature's prejudice?
Nay, no prejudice unto nature, I dare well say, for the king of nature may have all his one will. Did not the power of God make Aaron's rod bear fruit in one day?
Truth it is, indeed.
Then look you and read.
Ah, I perceive the seed whereupon that you spake. It was for our need, that he frail nature did take, and his blood he should shed amends for to make for our transgression, as it is said in prophecy that of the line of Judah should spring a right Messiah, by whom all we should have redemption.
Sir, now is the time come, and the date thereof run of his nativity.
Yet I beseech you heartily that ye would show me how this strange novelty were brought unto you.
This other night so cold, hereby upon a wold, shepherds watching their fold, in the night so far to them appeared a star, and ever drew them near, which star they did behold, brighter than they say 1,000-fold, than the sun so clear in his midday sphere, and they these tidings told.
What, secretly?
No, heartily they made there of a council, for they sung as loud as ever they could, praising the King of Israel.
Yet I do marvel in what pile or castle these herdsmen did him see.
Neither in halls nor yet in bowers born would he not be, neither in castles nor yet in towers, that seemly were to see, but as his father's will the prophecy to fulfill, betwixt an ox and an ass, Jesu the king born he was, heaven he bring to us till.
Sir, but when these shepherds had seen him there, to what place did they repair?
Forth they went, and glad they were. Going they did sing, with mirth and solace they made good cheer, for joy of that new tiding, and after, as I heard them tell, he rewarded them full well. He granted them heaven therein to dwell. In are they gone with joy and mirth, and their song is Noel.
And there. The prophets go forth, and we'll go into the rest of the stage direction in a moment. I'm quite glad I actually said, the quick prophets. I mean, it was actually just a joke, but we've had disputation sort of material before, but nothing quite so sprightly. Actually, it really actually bounced along. It was the brief moments where it felt like debating stand-up. It's like, I'm glad you asked that question. Thank. It actually bounced. Sometimes this kind of didactic stuff can feel slightly laboured, but actually I kind of enjoyed that. It was rather fun. Alan.
Yeah, I mean it's a very, very different feel from the rest, and I'm just wondering whether what we're looking at here is a piece which has actually been conflated from a number of previous pieces, because the verbal style was roughly consistent for the first two sequences, the Mary Joseph and then the Shepherds, and then this prophets bit is totally different feel.
It's a bit of a weird palate cleanser. I mean, you get that with prophets sequences and stuff like that, where you just have these little moments that are slightly different. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean it is explicitly from a different source or trimmed from or things have been moved around. It might be authorial intent, but it does definitely feel like a change. Just to recap what we've already seen for those who are late. This is the moment when you let in latecomers, isn't it? In commercial theatre, make sure they're in before this bit. Otherwise, no, you can't come in. How is it for you, Valentina?
It was. I mean, I didn't expect it to be quite so, like, quite so much rhyme and like such a different structure from the stuff before. It was actually quite fun. I didn't count them, but they did make sure that the audience know she was a maid. I was like, because the first three or four lines, I was like, she's definitely a maid. She's undefiled maid. No, she's still a maid. She's at a child, but she's still a maid. Yeah, it was fun.
We're finding this is a major theme. This is a major theme of these nativity sequences. Helen.
Yes, one of the things they're doing is attacking the one biblical suggestion that in fact the child is Joseph's and not the Holy Spirit's, because the lineage in the Bible is not Mary's lineage but Joseph's, and that's the theological problem that they're clearing up.
There's always a little tidying around the edges to do.
Yeah. Nobody normally notices it, but somebody obviously has.
Yes, Dan.
Yeah, I just wanted to remark, just to agree with everybody on the tonal change there. It really bounces along. The rhyme scheme gets a cracking, and if you even look at the original verse scheme and how it's been indented, you could just see on the page versus the Mary, Joseph, Gabriel stuff. It's just really short verses and just boom, boom, boom. It sounds like it's almost meant to be comic.
Yeah, I mean that's why I said it felt like stand-up, because it does. It has a nice, but it is getting over information or recapping information that we already, all of which we've already just seen. So it's really interesting. So is there a break after the shepherd sequence, before this bit happens, or is it as and to set up the next bit, or what? It's really interesting. Any additional thoughts before we move on, Alan?
Yeah, I mean the one I found interesting was this thing about the lineage, where, as Helen says, yes, it's relying on Joseph's family line to get him to get in the house of David, but Judaism, of course, works on a matrilinear pre-system.
Lois.
Yeah, I missed most of this discussion because my internet cut out, but did anybody comment on how odd it is these prophets who are supposed to have known all this in the past are now talking in the present about something that's happened that they didn't know about, or at least one of them didn't? I mean, it's a very odd use of timing.
I mean, they're down as prophets, but it is an interesting question what that actually means, and what that means to the audience as well. How they're, are they just simply, are they more doctors of, debating a point?
Expositors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, I mean, that's interesting, just how they're labelled and whether that's just us misinterpreting what that means. Valentina.
I just had a weird thought. Like, maybe they were just there to cover the change of scene, because it feels like they could be somewhere completely separate from everything else. They could even be in the audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if we're talking about like more like street theatre,
do it as a front of tabs number almost. I know the anachronism, but
yeah, the distraction while something else is going on. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Eric.
Well, it reminded me because you were talking about like sort of almost like stand up. It was it reminded me of that part from basically Liza will remember this from the Knight and the sort of Plowman and all those guys, and also John, Jerome, and James, where you've got like all that stuff sort of because they obviously can't come up with proper names anyway. But yeah, it was sort of, oh yes, and you asked a question about this, therefore I will tell you. And then obviously they launched into a long sort of explanation about things. But obviously this is shorter, thankfully. But yeah, it's basically that.
Yeah, the debating structure play thing is quite well established, and a lot earlier. We've done some quite early debating pieces, so earlier than even John Hayward, which is actually contemporaneous with this manuscript. Sorry, Liza, I cut you off.
Oh, not to worry. It was what I was going to say is that the structure is very like stand up, with one character asking the questions and the other giving the responses, and it seems like less of a debate than a sort of Socratic dialogue, or a, because one character has to be the question asker so that the other character can get the exposition out there.
Yeah, Lucidus and Dubius does something very similar as this, where you've got the master and the ex-student, and the debates. It becomes more debatey as it goes along, but it does start off very much along the lines of, let me ask you this question. Thank you for asking me this question. I will now tell you the answer. Dan.
Yeah, it's just like if you've ever seen the structure of those old grammars from the 16th century, like the schoolmaster, where it's explaining how to spell and how to write, with a schoolmaster, a student asking questions, and the schoolmaster giving all of the explanation there. That's what it reminds me of, at least.
Yeah. Lois?
Yeah, it was an odd kind of clash of form and content, really, because I mean, the form is about the most boring one you can imagine. I mean, the content is really, do tell me more about this. Oh, thank you. Yes, I will. And yet the style of it, with this sort of W.S. Gilbert type rhyming, was really fun. I sort of picture an author kind of handed a scenario. You're supposed to get this across, and having fun with it.
We could discuss this, I'm sure, at greater length, but we do need to move on. So we're going to move into some king business, various kings available for your delectation and pleasure now. So the prophets have gone forth, and Herald cometh in, as well as his messenger.
Peace, Lord Barons of great renown. Peace, Sir Knights of noble presence. Peace, gentlemen companions of noble order. I command that all of you keep silence. Peace while your noble king is in presence. Let no person stint to pay him deference. Be not bold to strike, but keep your hearts in patience, and to your lord keep heart of reverence. For he, your king, hath all puissance. In the name of the law, I command you, peace. And King Herod, a grand volley, vos import.
Qui status indued et rex Israel, and the mightiest conqueror that ever walked on ground. For I am even he that made both heaven and hell, and my mighty power holdeth up the world round. Magog, Madrog, both them I did confound, and with this bright brand their bones I break asunder, that on all the wide world on this rapist did wonder. I am the cause of this great light and thunder. It is through my fury that they such noise do make. My fearful countenance the clouds so doth encumber, that often for dread thereof the very earth doth quake. Look, when I with Malin this bright brand doth shake. All the world, from the north to the south, I may them destroy with one word of my mouth. To recount unto you my innumerable substance, that were too much for any tongue to tell. For all the whole Orient is under mine obedience, and prince am I of purgatory, and the chief captain of hell. And those tyrannous traitors by force may I compel mine enemies to vanquish, and even to dust to drive. And with a twinkle of mine eye, not one to be left alive. Behold my countenance and my colour, brighter than the sun in the middle of the day. Where can you have a more great succour than to behold my person that is so gay? My falchion, my fashion, with my gorgeous array. He that hath the grace always thereon to think, live they might alway without other meat and drink. And this my triumphant fame most highly doth abound throughout this world, in all regions abroad, resembling the favour of that most mighty Mahound, from Jupiter by descent, and cousin to the great god, and named the most renowned King Herald, which all princes hath under subjection, and all their whole power under my protection. And therefore, my herald, here called Calchas, warn thou every port that no ships arrive, nor also alien stranger through my realm pass, but they for their truage do pay marks 5. Now speed thee forth hastily, for they that will the contrary upon a gallows hanged shall be, and by my hound, of me they get no grace.
Now, Lord and Master, in all the haste, thy worthy will it shall be wrought, and thy royal country shall be passed in as short time as can be thought.
Now shall our regions throughout be sought in every place, both east and west. If any caitiffs to me be brought, it shall be nothing for their best. And the while that I do rest, trumpets, viols, and other harmony shall bless the waking of my majesty.
So we can infer from that that as Herod goeth away, they get lots of music, lots of pomp. He probably got that when he came on as well. And meanwhile, the 3 kings speaketh in the street.
Now blessed be God of his sweet Son, for yonder a bright star I do see. Now is he come as among as the prophets said that it should be. He said there should a babe be born, coming of the root of Jesse, to save mankind that was forlorn, and truly come now is he. Reverence and worship to him will I do, as God and man, that all made of naught. All the prophets accorded and said even so, that with his precautious blood mankind should be bought. He grant me grace by yonder star that I see, and into that place bring me, that I may him worship with humility, and see his glorious face.
Out of my way I deem that I am, for tokens of this country can I none see. Now God, that on earth madest man, send me some knowledge where that I be. Yonder methinks a fair bright star I see, the which betokeneth the birth of a child, that hither is come to make men free. He born of a maid, and she nothing defiled. To worship that child is mine intent. Forth now will I take my way. I trust some company God hath me sent. For yonder I see a king labour on the way. Toward him now will I ride. Hark, comely king, I pray you, pray, into what coast will ye this tide, or whither lies your journey?
To seek a child is mine intent, of whom the prophets have meant. The time is come now, is he sent, by yonder star here may you see.
Sir, I pray you with your license, to ride with you into his presence. To him will I offer frankincense, for the head of the whole church shall he be.
I ride wandering in ways wide, over mountains and dales. I wot not where I am. Now, King of all kings, send me such guide that I may have knowledge of this country's name. Ah, yonder I see a sight, beseeming all afar, the which betokens some news as I trow. As methinks a child appearing in a star, I trust he be come that shall defend us from woe. 2 kings yonder I see, into them will I ride, for to have their company. My trust they will me abide. Hail, comely kings Orient. Good sirs, I pray you, whither are ye meant?
To seek a child is our intent, which betokens yonder star, as you may see.
To hear my purpose this present.
Sirs, I pray you, and that right humbly, with you that I may ride in company. To Almighty God now pray we, that his precious person we may see.
And here Herod cometh in again, and the messenger saith,
Hail, Lord, most of might. Thy commandment is right. Into thy land is come this night 3 kings, with them a great company.
What make these kings in this country?
To seek a king and a child, they say.
Of what age should he be?
Scant 12 days old, fully.
And was he so late born?
Eh, sir? So they showed me the same day in the morn.
Now, on pain of death, bring them me before. And therefore, Herald, hie thee now in haste, in all speed, that thou were dight, or that those kings the country be past. Look, thou bring them all 3 before my sight. And in Jerusalem, enquire more of that child. But I warn thee that thy words be mild, for there take thou heed, and craft thereto his power to fordo, that those 3 kings shall be beguiled.
Lord, I am ready at your bidding, to serve thee as my Lord and King, the joy thereof. Lo, how I spring, with light heart and fresh gambolling, aloft here on this mould.
Then speed thee forth hastily, and look that thou bear thee evenly, and also I pray thee heartily, that thou do commend me, both to young and old.
Hail, Sir Kings, in your degree. Herod, king of these countries wide, desires to speak with you all 3, and for your coming he doth abide.
Sir, at his will we be right bane. Hie us, brother, unto that lord's place. To speak with him we would be fain. That child that we seek, he grant us of his grace.
Hail, Lord, without peer. These 3 kings have we brought.
Now, welcome, Sir Kings, all in fear. But of my bride, sir, abash ye not. Sir Kings, as I understand, the star hath guided you into my land, wherein great Harry ye have found by reason of her beams bright. Wherefore I pray you heartily, the very truth that you would certify, how long is it surely since of that star you had first sight?
Sir King, the very truth we say, and to show you as it is best, this same is even the 12th day since it appeared to us to be west.
Brother, then there is no more to say, but with heart and will keep ye your journey. Come home again this same way of your news that I may know. You shall triumph in this country, and with great concord banquet with me. And that child myself then will I see, and honour him also.
Sir, your commandment we will fulfill, and humbly obey ourselves theretil. He that weldeth all things at will, the ready way us teach, Sir King, that we may pass your land in peace.
Yes, and walk softly even at your own ease. Your passport for 100 days here shall you have of clear command. Our realm to labour anyways here shall you have by special grant.
Now farewell, King of high degree. Humbly of you our leave we take.
Then adieu, Sir Kings, all 3, and while I live, be bold of me. There is nothing in this country, but for your own ye shall it take.
And exit the kings at this point, but we'll just pause there. He's a cunning Herod, this one, isn't he? He's, this does set up his cunningness. It's before they bring the kings. Warn thee that thy words be mild. Take thou heed and craft thereto. I mean, there's something really nice. I do like that, as well as the heralds. Being very, very clear about how happy the herald is to do whatever Herod asks, whatever tasks. I think someone did put in the chat, just about the herald being with light heart and fresh gambling aloft here on this. But he's going to skip along and do whatever Herod asks. Gambolling, not gambling. Lynn.
Yeah, I mean, Herod's duplicitousness is interesting, where he's sort of sly, he's sort of deceiving. But let's go back a little bit to our first view of him. I mean, Herod is arrogant in all the different iterations of biblical plays, but he's claiming to be God. I mean, that's wild. I made the heavens and the earth, and I defeated Gog Magog, and it's like he's claiming to be God. That's pretty over the top.
Yeah, he's descended from Jupiter and cousin to the great gods. So, he's got all the in-laws that you can have.
That's wild.
Yeah, really going for it on this one, which we don't go into anything like that kind of detail in the others. I mean, he makes his boast, but yeah, this is a good boast. Lois.
Yeah, I love that bit where he tells the kings not to be abashed at his bright blee. I mean, I'm shining so brightly, you must all be terribly in awe, but it's all right, calm down. I mean, that's just the sort of thing God says. Gosh, it's like Gabriel telling Mary, be not afeared.
Oh, absolutely. And he's a very effective Herod. And I think it's quite nice that Stephen was doing him in that sort of relatively low register. So that when we get to the cunning stuff later on, and the sense of this is not only someone who's obsessed with his own image, but also there's a brain going on here. He's thinking, he's dangerous. This Herod is, and of course the kings. I think we can say safely the kings are all on horses.
Yeah.
So we've got horses, people. Be glad it gets added to the horses list of genuine horses. Francis.
I liked the way the sort of coming together of the kings mirrored the coming together of the shepherds in the earlier scene. That was a nice there's a nice sort of symmetry there, and also it's mentioned at one point that the kings have a sort of force with them, as it were, that they have attendants. Which
you don't normally get that sense, do you?
No, which sort of makes sense when you think about it, because in the Bible stories it's like the kings are alone. But it would make sense that they would have a few knights and some servants with them as well.
Yeah, Liza.
If they are in fact on horseback, you would need someone to lead the horses. Presumably in a king's regalia, you'd have and carrying gifts for Jesus, you'd have other things to do with your hands than hold reins. So that could be those attendants.
Yeah, I like the way the third king, his sat nav has obviously failed when he first comes in.
Horse nav.
Yeah, he's berating his servants Tom and Tom, and they're most he's most unhappy with them. Lois.
Yeah, I like that. Oh, I see another king over there. I mean...
Yeah.
You go on a journey and you don't see any kings, and then suddenly you find another two. What are the odds? He's quite charming, isn't it? Yeah. Any additional thoughts on kings or Herods or? No, okay. So we are going to be dancing around a little bit in the various bits now as the various areas break up and fragment, and we go back and forth between some characters. So the three kings have exited, and Herod is alone to do his last bit of eviling.
Now, these three kings are gone on their way unwisely and unwittingly of all they have wrought. When they come again, they shall die that same day. And thus these vile wretches to death shall be brought. Such is my liking. He that against my laws will hold, be he king or kaiser, never so bold, I shall them cast into cares cold, and to death I shall them bring.
There Herod goeth his way, and the three kings come in again.
Oh, blessed God, much is thy might. Where is the star that gave us light?
Now kneel we down here on this presence, by seeking that Lord of high magnificence, that we may see his high excellence, if that his sweet will be.
Yonder, brother, I see the star, whereby I know he is not far. Therefore, lords, go we now into this poor place.
And there the three kings go to the childbed, Mary and her child.
Hail, Lord, that all this world has wrought. Hail, God and men together in fear. For thou hast made all thing of naught, albeit thou liest poorly here. A cup full of gold here I have thee brought, in tokening thou art without peer.
Hail be thou, Lord of high magnificence, in tokening of priesthood and dignity of office. To thee I offer a cup full of incense, for it behoveth thee to have such sacrifice.
Hail be thou, Lord, long looked for. I have brought thee myrrh for mortality, to in tokening those shalt mankind restore to life by thy death upon a tree.
God have mercy, kings, of your goodness. By the guiding of the Godhead, hither are ye sent. The provision of my sweet son, your ways home redress, and ghostly reward you for your present.
Sir kings, after our promise, home by Herod I must needs go.
Now truly, brother, we can no less, but I am so far watched, I wot not what to do.
Right, so am I. Wherefore are you pray? Let us all rest a while upon the ground.
Brother, your saying is right well unto my pay. The grace of that sweet child save us all sound.
King of Taurus, Sir Jasper, King of Araby, Sir Balthazar, Melchior, King of Aginara, to you now I am sent. For dread of Herod, go you west home in those parts where you come down. You shall be buried with great renown. The Holy Ghost this knowledge hath sent.
Awake, Sir Kings, I pray you, for the voice of an angel I heard in my dream.
That is full true that ye do say, for he rehearsed our names plain.
He bade that we should go down by west, for dread of Herod's false betray.
So for to do it is the best, the child that we have sought to guide us the way. Now farewell, the fairest of shapes so sweet, and thanked be Jesu of his Son, that we three together so suddenly should meet, that dwell so wide in a strange land, and here to make our presentation unto this King's Son cleansed so clean, and to his mother for our salvation, of much mirth now may we mean, that we so well hath done this oblation.
Now farewell, Sir Jasper, brother to you, King of Taurus the most worth, Sir Balthazar, also to you I bow, and I thank you both of your good company, while we together have been. He that made us to meet on hill, I thank him now and ever I will, for now may we go without ill, and of our offering be full fain.
Now sith that we must needly go, for dread of Herod that is so wroth. Now farewell, brother, and brother also. I take my leave here of you both, this day on foot. Now he that made us to meet on plain, and offered to Mary in her day, saying, He give us grace in heaven again, all together to meet.
And the kings all pootle off. There's a slightly odd quality there. There's a sort of errant stage direction that's been added later, but it's sort of addressing a slight oddness to the text. Like they leave Jesus, but then they sort of talk to him. They don't, or do they just fall asleep at their feet? They, usually they exit and leave and have a nap on the way, so their farewell speeches to each other are sort of also farewell to Jesus, who's somewhere else, probably. So there's a slightly odd nature to that little bit, the kings go to Jesus. Mary, did you enjoy your gifts? Did you feel that the kings did you right? Kings, did you feel like, it's always difficult giving gifts at Christmas. It's always awkward. Sometimes have you given the right thing? It's a child. What do you give it? So how did that work for you?
Yeah, I love the gifts. Gifts are always welcome.
Other thoughts in the room? Eric?
Helen was first.
So there's lots of you. I'll just go to whoever I go to first. We'll get to Helen in a moment. Eric, go.
Basically, I was gonna say that it's a very tidy scene. They come in, 1, 2, 3, and then they leave 1, 2, 3. It's like, yay.
Yeah, it might be a very small stage space. Helen.
Yes, I'm thinking that the different parts of the world have different emphasis on different parts of the story, and there seems to be a tremendous amount about the three wise men here, which you would expect more in a German play, I would have thought, than in an English.
Why German?
Well, I think isn't Germany very keen on them?
They do have a special feast day. Well, I mean, I think everyone has a special feast day, but the Germans really go for it.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, what I'm missing so far is Mary and Joseph stuff. They seem to be cutouts compared with all the rest.
In terms of what the narrative is doing, it's everything is moving so fast. They're just sort of there to link all the sequences together, aren't they? They do have little snapshots. They were quite nice. There were a couple of nice moments. But you're right. I don't think they're as evenly drawn.
I mean, I'm wondering, is the gold going to pay for the trip to Egypt?
Well, we'll see. We'll see. You know what last minute rail tickets are like.
How much does an ass cost?
Yes. That's a dangerous question because it ring last time. Okay, we've got the final-ish sequence to go now. We're going to return to the world of Herod, and I'm sure this is going to go really, really well. So, we don't have a specific stage direction here, but what we get is the Herald introducing Herod once again.
Hail, King, most worthiest in weed. Hail, maintainer of courtesy throughout all this world wide. Hail, the most mightiest that ever bestrode a steed. Hail, most manfullest man in armour man to abide. Hail in thine honour. These three kings that forth were sent, and should have come again before thee here present. Another way, Lord, home they went, contrary to thine honour.
Herod is muted.
Another way! Out! 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 Hath these foul traitors done me this deed? I stamp, I stare, I look all about, might I them take? I should burn at a gleed. I rend, I roar, now run I would. But these villain traitors hath marred this my mood. They shall be hanged if I come them to.
And here's my favourite stage direction. Here, Herod rages in the pageant and in the street also. Herod's gonna go everywhere.
That Can of Bethlehem, he shall be dead, and thus shall I do for his prophecy. How say you, Sir Knights? Is not this the best read? That all young children for this should be dead, with sword to be slain. Then shall I, Herod, live in lead, and all folk me doubt and dread, and offer to me both gold, riches, and mead. Thereto will they be full fain.
My lord, King Herod by name, thy words against my will shall be. To see so many young children die is shame. Therefore counsel thereto gettest thou none of me.
Well said, fellow, my troth I plight. Sir King, perceive right well you may. So great a murder to see of young fruit will make a rising in thine own country.
A rising. Out! Out! Out!
And there Herod rages again. We can assume he's going to go all over the place. You know, he's done it once. It's going to go down so much better the second time.
Oh, villain wretches! Hereupon you I cry, my will! Utterly look that it be wrought, or upon a gallows both you shall die. Hound, most mightiest that me dare hath fought.
Now, cruel herald, this we shall do this deed. Your will needfully in this must be wrought. All the children of that age die they must need. Now with all my might there shall be upsought.
And I will swear here upon your bright sword, all the children that I find, slain they shall be, that make many a mother's to weep and be full sore afeard in our armour bright when they are see.
Well, now you have sworn, forth that ye go, and my will that ye work both by day and night, and then will I for fain trip like a doe. But when they be dead, I warn you, bring them before my sight.
And we can sort of go with a screen wipe moment as we're going to shift over to the Angel and Joseph and Mary. What's really interesting, I love the way the Herald opens this scene by going, "Hey, Herod, you're great. You're so great. You're wonderful. You're great. You're the greatest. You're great. 3 kings have left. Okay, you're great. You're great. Great." It's try to build, and Herod just, no, that doesn't work. And then the soldiers this time, they don't want to kill babies. They really do not want to do this at all. And Herod, it's Herod. They're so afraid of Herod that they feel they have no choice. It's a very different choice than what we looked at last time and other Herod plays, where the soldiers are deeply cruel and evil in straightforward ways. This is a very different situation. This is really interesting. Herod is ridiculously over the top. It's very hard to take him seriously at this point. Yeah, Liza.
I gotta say, I love that stage direction. So all my speculation about using the upper levels of buildings, of churches, of houses, I take it all back. We're on a pageant, we're in the street, and the reasons why I love that stage direction are that, first of all, it gives us a hint as, you know, it gives us explicit directions as to performance practice, that you come off the stage and you rage in the audience and you molest them and you go in their face. But it also makes Herod's rage, theatrically, it makes his rage too large for the stage to contain. So it's one of the most famous stage directions in theater, and rightly so, in at least theater of this period, and rightly so.
I mean, we've got a lot of material like this where you've got the explicit directions to move into the street, move amongst the audience, all those kinds of things. and of course the slipperiness of the word pageant. Oh, the joys! But yes, it is a wonderful bit of business, and ridiculously over the top in just the amount of fun that one can have, and also the reaction of the audience. The kiddywinks. I'm sure the kiddywinks love that bit, don't they? Yeah, we're about to go somewhere very different. So, any thoughts before we go there? Eric?
He's very panto villainy in this part, where like sort of, yeah, I will destroy the world. I mean, obviously he won't, but like, I mean, he fails in his quest ultimately. And yeah, as you said with the soldiers, it's not that thing where, yeah, totally, we're gonna kill all the kids and we don't mind. And Watkin is the only one left, sort of going, maybe we shouldn't do this because the women are really fierce, as opposed to, you know, the other way around.
Yeah, so we've got at least one pageant wagon. Whether we have a separate space now for where is Mary and Joseph at this particular moment in time? Because this dialogue suggests that this is happening either in a separate space or they inhabit it. Because we have no exit line for Herod. We don't know if Herod technically exits at this point, or whether he remains where he is while other action happens elsewhere. We have this brief moment between the angel, Joseph, and Mary.
Mary and Joseph, to you I say, sweet word from the Father I bring you full right. Out of Bethlehem into Egypt forth go ye the way, and with you take the king full of might, for dread of Herod's red.
Rise up, Mary, hastily and soon. Our Lord's will needs must be done, like as an angel has bade.
Meekly, Joseph, mine own spouse, towards that country let us repair. In Egypt, some token of house, God grant us grace, safe to come there.
And here the women come in with their children singing them, and Mary and Joseph goeth away clean. So we have the women singing this. This would be plural. And of course, what's going on here is the women are trying to shut their children up because there's trouble afoot.
Luli Lula, thou little tiny child, bye bye Luli Lule, thou little tiny child, bye bye Luli Lule. Oh, sisters too, how may we do for to preserve this day, this poor youngling, for whom we do sing, bye bye Luli Lule. Herod the king in his raging charged he hath this day his men of might in his own sight, all young children to slay. That woe is me, poor child, for thee, and evermore and day, for thy parting, neither say nor sing. Bye bye Luli Lule. I lull my child, wondrously sweet, and in mine arms I do it keep, because that it should not cry.
That babe that is born in Bethlehem so meek, he save my child and me from villainy.
Be still, my little child. That Lord of Lords save both thee and me. For Herod hath sworn with words wild that all young children slain shall be.
Say, whither, ye wives, whither are ye away? What bear you in your arms, needs must we see. If they be men children, die they must this day, for at Herod's will all things must be.
And I in hands once them hent, them for to slay, naught will I spare. We must fulfill Herod's commandment, else be we as traitors, and cast all in care.
Sir knights, of your courtesy this day shame not your chivalry, but on my child have pity, for my sake in this stead. For a simple slaughter it were to slew or work such a child woe, that can neither speak nor go, nor never harm did.
He that slays my child in sight, if that my strokes on him may light, be he squire or knight, I hold him but lost. See, thou false Lozinier, a stroke shalt thou bear me here, and spare you no cost.
Sit he never so high in saddle, but I shall make his brain addle, and here with my pot ladle with him I will fight. I shall lay on him as though woad I were. With this same womanly gear, there shall no man stir, whether he be king or knight.
And there is no stage direction, but at this point the innocents are killed.
Who heard ever such a cry of women that their children have lost, and greatly rebuking chivalry throughout this realm in every coast, which many a man's life is like to cost? For this great revenge that here is done, I fear much vengeance thereof will come.
Hey, brother, such tales may we not tell. Wherefore to the king let us go, for he is like to bear the bell, which was the cause that we did so. Yet must they all be brought him to, with wains and wagons full freight. I trow there will be a careful sight.
And once again they go to Herod.
Lo, Herod king, here must thou see how many thousands that we have slain.
And needs thy will fulfilled must be. There may no man say there again.
Herod, king, I shall thee tell, all thy deeds is come to naught. This child is gone into Egypt to dwell. Lo, sir, in thine own land, what wonders been wrought?
Into Egypt. Alas for woe, longer in land here I cannot abide. Saddle my palfrey, for in haste will I go, after yon traitors now will I ride, them for to slew. Now all men, I fast into Egypt in haste, all that country will I taste, till I may come them to.
And there ends the text. Another different ending for Herod here. He's going on a journey. He's saddling up the pony and he's off to chase. I don't know if there's any follow up to this. I don't know of that one. That's a new one on me. Lovely singing there from Liza. Obviously, again that's between the three women. Singing there, so it's interesting question on that. I mean, the thing about how that's acted as well, and that's a question, as opposed to being beautifully sung, is the question of how they're singing to the child to to sleep as well. So there's a dramatic question about how that actually functions. Liza, how was it for you?
Yes, thank you first of all for indulging that, but also there are. As you say, it's shared between the three women. The original music, which we do have, is in three parts, and there's harmony. There's a famous bit of harmony that's famously a little bit strange to modern ears because the difference of the harmonic and the melodic minor keys hadn't yet been invented. Sheet music also exists for the shepherd's little song that they sing. And the angels Gloria in Excelsis we can think of as plain song, possibly, or and then there's another possible cue where the prophets exit and they say, oh, their song is Noel, and if you don't sing one of the Noels there, and there are Noels from that period that you could insert, that if you don't take that opportunity and sing it, so this could be a very musical show depending on your troupe of actors, their voices, and the number of rotten vegetables that your audience have with them.
Yeah, and also, we've got the inferred music cues for Herod as well. Even if it's incidental music rather than sung music, there's a sense that this whole thing has a sort of overall production shape to it, which seems to work very well. It's really interesting, the tonal shift there. We're going from Herod over the top craziness, comic, to this brief sort of mini scene with the angel and Joseph and Mary, again feeling a bit like that just helpful transition moment to move the two scenes, and then music and I mean, it's intimated there that there are screams. Whoever heard such a cry of women? So the slaughter occurs, and so we've got another sound cue, even if it's not a musical sound cue, that is quite harrowing there. So Dan.
I just wanted to ask Liza, do you know when those arrangements, from whence those arrangements date?
This play's manuscript is a whole thing. I don't know from whence they date. This pageant was only suppressed in the 1570s, was it? Or
off the top of my head, I don't know. I did mean to find things, but I was struggling earlier.
The original manuscript of this that this pageant was copied from was destroyed by fire in the 1800s. So yeah, you know that. So we rely on a 19th century copy, and that copy also copied out the sheet music.
Okay, I saw the lyrics to the sheet music, but I didn't see the musical arrangement, and I was wondering if there happened to be, if you were talking about the arrangement for it, because to possibly get an idea of the tone of these songs, if they did date from around the same time period, because I think I read the manuscript would have dated from possibly around 1534 or thereabouts.
That's where the manuscript states it was translated by Robert Crighton. So that's on the end of the manuscript, yeah.
The music apparently is by someone named Thomas Maudick and dates from the sheet music dates from 1591, which seems a little bit late. But I will drop a link in the chat with a little more information and some PDFs.
Right, thank you.
This is one that, especially next Christmas, we'll follow up on. That's the nice thing about seasonal texts, is that when we have a very clear timetable as to when we'll probably come back to this one, and definitely going into more of that is part of what we'd be doing next. On a dramatic scene basis and the way it's all flowing, we're very close to final thoughts. How was that last sequence for everyone? Any thoughts from the room on that? Lois?
Well, it's odd because, I mean, the lines that I was reading, a second woman, suggested that there's a huge fight at this point between the women and the soldiers. And I think there's some sort of tradition of doing that comically, but then it doesn't seem to fit with everything else that's going on.
Yeah, there does seem to be business inferred. I mean, it's a question of where that action's occurring. Is that happening on street level, so they've actually got some room perhaps to do things, or is that again on an elevated stage and therefore it's limited and it's more suggested than actual? Stephen?
Yeah, just the sort of small notes about Herod. That Herod's raging. What he does is he picks up on a phrase from that and repeats it, and he does that at the end with "into Egypt," but then goes into "alas for woe," so there's an interesting kind of little variation on the pattern that we've already had with Herod. This isn't a kind of "alas for woe" doesn't sound like a raging moment, and so it's a really interesting kind of transition.
Alan?
Yeah, couple of things. One, the way this finishes makes me feel that, in fact, possibly was more material after this which hasn't got transcribed or survived. The other one was that you mentioned at one point in chat that the first of the Herald speeches was supposed to be all in French. Was that the same for all of the Herald speeches?
No, it was just literally that one speech. And it's not unknown to have heralds, or for that matter, pilots or herods or high up characters like that speaking random introductions in French.
I'm rather glad it was in English, because otherwise it would have been complete gobbledygook. I have difficulty enough reading English.
Eric?
I was going to say that whenever we get to like the, like, I don't know, killing of the innocents, slaughter of the innocents, whatever you want to call it, massacre, I always think of, because there's always a musical moment. I don't know if this is just for this play and the previous one, or like the last few we've done, but I always feel like there's a musical moment where the mothers, sort of mourn for their children as well. And it always reminds me of like music that's been written in the modern age, rather. Like, I don't know, 1900s. I can't remember the songs, but there's like a song written it's either a song or a poem that is written in Armenian by the women who survived the genocide, basically, or like sort of other things like. In poems that have become songs, called, like, in Greek, called Elefteri Poliorkimeni, which is quite famous because it sort of gave the Greeks their national anthem at some point later on. The same poet who, and it's that kind of, it's become like music over time because people felt it was so, like, important.
Right, we're into final thoughts, so I'm going to very briefly go around the room. We have a context whereby this can be performed. Christmas, it works reasonably well, and there is more material in the following play that follows directly on from this element. So we will be returning to this relatively soon. Not quite sure when precisely. So around the room, Helen, final thoughts.
Yeah, I think I probably said most of what I intended to say. I'm still somewhat, I still find the whole thing somewhat unbalanced without a decent Mary Joseph plot. But I can see that it would work extremely well.
Yes, you've been spoilt with some of your Marys and Josephs in some very, very detailed plays that we've been doing of late. Valentina, how was it for you?
Well, I've not read many of these, so this being my first one, at least like this year, it just feels very much like a nativity play. That's it. I don't know if it's enjoyable. It's always a bit. I was a bit like, oh, it doesn't end on a particularly cheery note, because I guess like if you're used to modern nativity plays, all is happy by the end. But yeah, I look forward to more of these.
Yes, in that sense, this one feels much more like a modern nativity play than a lot of the ones we've been doing, which have some severely weird bits of business that just feel quite alien to us. Dan, how was it for you?
Yeah, I enjoyed this play. It reminded me of the very first play I was ever in when I was 11 years old, a school pageant. And what I recall, I actually had played Joseph in that as well. And the whole thing of the idea of it, I understand exactly why one would want to center the play around Mary and Joseph. And now that I think back to that play, I wonder if they did the same thing as we did, which was Mary and Joseph just never left the stage. They were just up there the entire time whilst all the other action was going on. And this reminds me as well of Processus Saturnine, which I know there was a reading of this before, the actor's part of it, which I was just looking at. And there was the idea of the missing stage directions of people exiting or entering, made me wonder whether people were actually ever exiting, really, again.
Yeah.
And so that wouldn't necessarily be lost, I think, if that's the case, that everybody was on the stage. And one other point, this is relating back to since we've been reading the mystery plays as well, I think this play really does benefit from reading it as it was written, at least I think in the verse structure as well as the way it's been indented, and it doesn't lend itself well to the modern reading. I think a lot of it is lost if you miss the verse endings and miss the rhyming scheme there.
Yeah, it's I think this is an important thing about this kind of staging is that yes, there aren't necessarily exits as we would know it, and there are exits indicated more towards the end of the function of that character, and then at that point they've gone out of sight. But yeah, it's entirely possible that Mary and Joseph never really leave; they just go somewhere. But they could still be seen if you really wanted to. Lynn, final thoughts?
Yes, I want to touch back on the song that we've so fortunately had included in this last sequence, because there's songs evidently sprinkled throughout the Gloria in Excelsis and the Shepherd song, and so it's a reminder of like what a powerful tool music is for establishing a mood or a shift in mood. So all the different sort of tonal places that this play goes, that's helped a lot by music. The Gloria in Excelsis is very inspiring, and the Shepherd song is kind of fun and bouncy, and then the morning's lullaby for the children brings the mood to a more somber, sorrowful mood. So I think probably in practice, music would be a really powerful tool to make this an effective performance.
It's a show in that sense, and that's what I really like about this. Herod, Stephen, how was it for you?
Yeah. Well, I was interested. I was wondering about the sort of anti-Islam stuff, Mahound, and wondering if there might be a link there to what we've observed in some of the Turkish plays, in the sense of Herod as cruel being linked to the conflation of the Turks with cruelty. And and that sort of opens up vistas of that whole sort of time scheme thing where they're both then and now. They sort of seem, a lot of the performers seem to know what's going on and what will go on. And the other point really was, we're doing some sort of nerdy stuff in the chat and doing a little bit of research. And one of the things I found out, which I think is quite thought-provoking from the performance point of view, is we don't have the play, but we do have records of a Coventry play with Herod's son in it. So that's the Herod who's involved with the death of Jesus. And that Herod is either masked or has his face painted. And I think that takes us into a whole other area, because masking is devils or sometimes God. But the notion of Herod raging in the street with a mask on, for example, or a mask-like face, I think, gives us another perspective. I haven't done a lot of street theatre, but you couldn't actually do it the way I did it. I don't think it wouldn't work at all. I was just experimenting to see how it went. I don't think I think the raging would all be physical. It wouldn't be vocal. I don't think you could realistically sustain it.
How long can one go full Brian is always the question with a Herod. Francis, how was it for you?
Interesting. It was interesting to compare it to the other mystery play that I've done. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a few weeks ago. I think I preferred this one. Some really nice human moments in this one. And it had this strange cliffhanger at the end with Herod riding off in hot pursuit of Mary, Joseph, and Jesus. That's all I have to say, really.
Excellent. Lois, final thoughts?
It feels to me a bit like something put together from the greatest hits of a lot of other plays. I mean, it is relatively late, and there's this idea this is sort of what you expect in a nativity play. I mean, it's as if somebody had written the first bit of it rather hastily just to provide you with the opening, because it goes extremely fast, and then maybe they already had some of the more sustained plays and the music. I mean, it would work fine on the stage, I think, because the sort of things you mentioned. I mean, Dan's idea that you'd have Mary and Joseph there all the time would, in a sense, deal with Helen's feeling that they're not important enough, because if you were seeing them from beginning to end pretty much of the play, they would feel like the central characters anyway. And that I did wonder about the ending, whether what Herod does is, in fact, jump on a horse and ride all around, terrifying everybody. I mean, that would at least make it end with a bang.
Mm. Yeah, I'm very interested in the possible directions of how this would be staged, and I'm very interested to see whether something's got confused, because it keeps talking about streets, it talks about pageant, but it doesn't seem like there's one stage area. It feels like there should be more than one scaffold set up. So I'm finding the interesting contradictions in this, which I like. I like contradictions. Eric, final thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's stageable, but I'm not sure quite how you would do it, because well, obviously I'm not an actor, but also not a performer of any sort. So it just kind of I mean, I can't think about it like in terms of, I might think about it in terms of film rather than like sort of live performance where you can cut to different scenes and stuff. Or I don't know, I guess in a live performance you just like use spotlights if you were performing indoors, or sort of like, how do you throw that emphasis on parts of the story as you go? I don't know, it's just an interesting play compared to other ones that we've done.
Alan, final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting piece. It runs at a good pace. I must admit, I'm still thinking that this is actually a bit of a cut and shut job, where they've actually taken sequences which maybe had a separate existence and put them together into almost a greatest hits, one compilation version, as it were. And in terms of a modern nativity play, I mean, basically a modern one would probably cut off just before the song, with the start of the journey to Egypt.
Oh, Dave, you've got to have the slaughter of the innocents. You can't skip that.
Not if you're doing a primary school version.
Oh, you haven't seen the nativity plays that I've seen, but yeah, it might be debatable what happens there. Sarah, the Virgin Mary herself. Any final thoughts from you?
Yes. In contradiction with a few other people, I actually think this would make a really good audio play. I mean, there's all the music, obviously, which is going to lend itself. But I just think in terms of the fact that because you are having to sort of move around, you've got these sort of different areas going on and these sort of seamless transitions from one to the other. I think that would actually lend itself really well to an audio play, and I think as well, if you were going to do it on audio, you could. I think that would help with the perceived lack of stuff in Mary and Joseph, because you could do you could do things, you could create atmosphere, you could create a sense of home with sound effects, and I mean, nothing really obvious, but you could have sort of background, the background noise of daily life kind of thing going on, and then all the stuff in the stable as well, with the animals breathing. I think you could do something amazing with that. So I actually think if I was going to stage this, I mean, yeah, it would be great to see it on stage. All these mystery plays are, I mean, they're meant to be performed, outside for big audiences, but I think you could actually do something quite intimate with it as well, and just make it an audio piece.
Yeah, and the fact that it has lots of short scenes is one of those things that sort of radio lends itself quite nicely to. Liza, thank you again for your lovely singing, for stepping in to do that. Final thoughts from you?
You're very kind. Thank you. Well, I like the idea of Herod in a mask, which Stephen floated, because there's that line when the three kings come to see him. He says, "Of my bright blee, sirs, abash ye not." And if he's wearing some kind of frightful mask or has a hideous face on, that that's that line becomes deliciously ironic. Similarly, when he asks on his first exit, when he asks for trumpets and viols to sound some harmony, to bless the waking of my majesty, I wonder what kind of music he actually gets. You could.
Yeah.
It
Metal.
can't be. Yeah, it can't be too terrible because the next scene is the wise men seeing the star. But so that there has to be a segue. But it would be nice to have some kind of, maybe a horn going bwap or something. It is interesting that we get a lot more of Herod than of any other character. We get more of Herod than we do of Mary. But then he's a fan favorite, and everyone wants to play him. There's a reference in Chaucer, a good deal earlier, I think, than this script dates from, but there's a reference in Chaucer to a young man who's the handsomest young man in town, and he knows it, and he always plays Herod in the pageant, and everyone always waits to see it. Peach of a part. Oh, that's the other thing. The script, you were right, Robert, it moves really fast. There's nothing extraneous in it. And having done 2 John Bale plays on the trot last night, when there is a lot of sermonizing and not a lot of movement, it really flags up that contrast, that there is not a line wasted in this play. It's pedestrian stuff, but by God, it gets where it's going.
I'm going to entirely disagree with that assessment of the Bale plays you did last night, but that's fine. And that's an argument to be had another day. Yes, Bale, fab stuff. Go for it. More content is available on the podcast and also on the YouTube. So that is it for this particular pageant. We have one more pageant available from Coventry. We have the pageant of the Weavers, which we will get round to at some point. Follows on from this. There's also additional material with the Weavers pageant as well, which is very similar to that, which is anyway, future Robert will talk about that. All that remains is thank everyone, all the readers here today, and for that matter singers here today, and say goodbye.
Bye.
If you've enjoyed this episode, then why not throw us a coffee on ko-fi.com/Beyond Shakespeare, or perhaps become a supporter on patreon.com/Beyond Shakespeare, where you get exploring sessions early every month from the lowest tier, as well as early access to this podcast type material that you're listening to now, and other exciting bonus features. Lots of exclusive material also released every week. So there's at least 2 things are released each week, exclusive and early access. That's the general pattern per week. So something like 9 things a month, which you get depending on which tier you donate on. So why not go to patreon.com/Beyond Shakespeare and assist in making these things happen.